Hello, M1DDD Portable here in the Peak District National Park. Out in my motorhome today. It's been a while, and thought I'd come up today to test out some 77's gear. Basically phasing two antennas together. So it's been a successful time, been out for a couple of hours, mainly doing tests, because 77's FM has not been overly busy during the weekday. It's a Thursday today and it's mid-afternoon. Then I've been doing a few tests looking at signal strengths of repeaters, and also I had a very nice long chat with a guy down in Hinckley in Leicestershire, about 50 miles away from me, doing some tests on with the output of the Hinckley Leicestershire box repeater, and also through the input. So that's been a very useful demonstration. I'll be using an old Yaesu FT100D, only because it's just easy to bring in the van. An amplifier. This does about 20 watts on 77's. Amplifier's 100 watts, so it'll drive to about 60 or 70 watts. A small power meter there just to keep an eye on power and SWR. And using a masthead preamp which is sat in the shack. That's an SP70. Really an excellent preamp. It's 100 watt rated, powered off a small lithium iron phosphate battery. The rig's also powered off a 50 amp hour linear lithium iron phosphate battery, as is the linear. So I've got a piece of Echo Flex, I think it's Echo Flex 10 Premium. I think that's what that is. Going out the back of the van, and outside the back you can see a pair of 10 element antennas on tripods. This is not an ideal way to do things, but I wanted to just do a simple test of mounting two vertically polarized, very similar antennas. They're not identical, but they're 10 elements each and pretty much the same boom length or element end to end length and spacing. So I just eyeballed these and put them sort of 900 to 1100 millimeters apart, 1 meter nominally, and did some test work. So we'll come out of the van. Beautiful day here in the Peak District. However, it's a bit cold and the sun's just starting to set. Yeah. So what we got there is a pair of 10 element 77's yagis, both of which have quite a wide beam width, probably plus or minus 5 megahertz. It's very easy to play with, really. This one here is a Wemo 10 element. It's got a folded dipole, so actually determining which is the sort of positive side, which is the negative side, or which way around they should go in relation to each other can be a bit difficult. So I tried it both ways around. I flipped it the other way up to see what was what. Of course, as a single antenna, it doesn't matter. This antenna is a 10 element arrow antenna, or an Alaskan arrow. It's a satellite antenna. It's normally combined with 4 elements on 2 meters. But I've just got the 10 elements on 77's. I thought I'd give this a try because the aerials are pretty much the same length end to end, and they're perhaps not in line actually. Perhaps they should be this near one should be a bit further back. But the purpose was just to put them 1 meter apart and do some tests with single aerials into a repeater or talking to a station, and connect one up and then connect 2 up. So that's the situation with these. Both of them, let's have a look. Both of them are connected with some AirCell 7, not the ideal cable, but they're very short runs, 3 meter runs. These coax runs are the same length. I had them made independently, but they came from the same place. Unfortunately, this has got a BNC connector, and this one here has got an N connector, so I've had to put a little converter piece in, which is about 2 centimeters long, and I wasn't going to be too worried about that. I don't think it matters that much. And in fact, with two aerials, typically you would get, with a meter apart between them, typically you'd get about 3 dB gain over a single aerial. So what I did was I did some single aerial comparisons, receiving some repeaters, and then I hooked up two, and I was typically getting half an S point better. The last test I did was talking to a station through the repeater about 50 miles away to the south. That's to the south. And we could hear each other on the input as well. He was using a collinear antenna, and it went from fully readable on the input, about an S1, to a difficult radio 3, not getting all the words sort of thing, just using one of the aerials. And I have no doubt that whether I used the near one or the far one, it wouldn't have mattered. So I sort of had those results both on 3 different tests, one talking to another station, one just listening to the repeater tones, and I'm quite satisfied that 2 aerials is probably giving me 3 dB over 1 aerial, 3 dB being about half an S point on an average radio. The next move is to put these on a bench and measure out exactly. I'm probably going to start at 1 meter, and I'll put some marks at plus or minus 50 millimeters or 100 millimeters, and get these parallel with 2 bits of wood, and then mount them on the rotator on the back of the van, and then hoist that up. So it's a useful test. This is a newly acquired cavity power splitter, so it's a 400 to 450 megahertz cavity power splitter. I managed to negotiate a price pretty cheap for this, and so I bought 2. In fact, I might buy the rest of this. The question mark was what the power rating of this was. This, I've done some checking on it. It was supplied by one particular company to a second company, it turns out. The guy who was selling them wasn't able to tell me what the power rating was, and similar ones are typically 50, 100, 200 watts, but I didn't know. So when I bought them, they actually came in a box. The boxes that these ones came in, the 2 I bought came in, had some spec on them with noise floor and also a 200 watt power rating, so I'm assuming that's 200 watt PEP, so that'll be fine. So I've got 2 of those. I'm going to buy some more actually, because I've got various other 77 antennas, and I fancy, you know, really sort of stacking up an array so I can have some vertical and some horizontal systems and go from there. Might also be useful for my satellite stuff as well. Anyway, that's the test work I've been doing today. 2 10-element yagis, 2 equal lengths of cable within 5 millimeters. It doesn't matter what the lengths of this cable are because I'm using a power splitter. If I was making a coaxial cable splitter, then I'd need to use odd multiples of quarter wavelength and times the velocity factor, and using 75 ohms and so on. So 2 lengths of 50 ohm cable, equal, doesn't matter what the length is, they're just equal lengths, into a power splitter, and then these have both got end connectors on, and the third connector at the bottom is the common that goes back to the rig and the amplifier system in the van. So as you can see, the day is coming to an end. It's been a successful afternoon in Italy Oscar 93 Square, so we'll end it there, and hope it's been a useful demonstration.